This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Mineralogy Project. I'm excited to announce the launch of a new online course from Mineralogy Project, Presence with Crystals. This series of educational meditations blends geology and energetics and supports you in building a daily meditation practice. Check out Mineralogy Project on Instagram and register for Presence with Crystals today via the link in their bio. Mineralogy Project also hosts thematic monthly crystal live sales, and you can also follow along on her Tucson Gem Show adventure. Learn more and sign up for the class at mineralogyproject.com and use code WitchWave25 for 25% off full price registration through the class launch date on February 16th. That's mineralogyproject.com, code WitchWave25. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Snowy Owl Arts and Tea House. Snowy Owl Arts and Tea House, nestled in Buffalo's historic Niagara Food Terminal, is a haven of creativity and warmth. Serving as the creative and production hub for Snowy Owl Tea, known for its handcrafted blends infused with real fruit, fresh ground whole spices, and full-leaf teas and blossoms. Snowy Owl Arts and Tea House is also home to the creative endeavors of resident artist and owner Tara Bystron-Pruski. Now, I adore Snowy Owl Tea, which is why I've partnered with them on the Witch Wave tea blend available from our site, but you can get their other tea blends directly from them, and I highly recommend you do. I'm addicted to their Midnight Moon blend with lavender, vanilla, and Earl Grey, as well as their second breakfast blend with lemon, oat, and poppy seed. I'm telling you, it is so good. Visit Snowy Owl in person or order their delicious teas online at snowyowltea.com and use code WITCH for 10% off. That's snowyowltea.com with code WITCH.
The world is filled with bewitching people, and you might be one too. Welcome to the podcast where art is magic is real, and reality is stranger than dreams. I'm Pam Grossman, and this is The Witch Wave.
Hello, and welcome to The Witch Wave. Happy New Year. Yes, I know we're in the second half of January, but it's the first Witch Wave episode of 2026, so I think I can still get away with saying that. I hope your holidays were sparkling and as peaceful as possible, and I hope your year has gotten off to a gentle start, all things considered. And yes, there's a lot going on in the news right now, and I will dig into that in a moment. But I also hope you're starting to feel a sense of percolation and possibility. It always takes me a couple of weeks after the new year to get reactivated, but I'm starting to feel those sparks. Maybe it's because we're in Aquarius season now, my season, thank you very much. Or maybe it's because I actually let myself rest and do a little bit less work over the holidays. But I'm ready to re-engage with my creative magic. To that end, I'm so thrilled that Jonica Stuckey and I will be teaching an online ritual workshop called Creative Fire. This is a ritual workshop to help light those sparks and fan those flames of creativity, and to do so just in time for Imbolc, the pagan holiday that's all about celebrating the first stirrings of life and creative force. So do join us if you're looking to spark your creativity, start a new project, or just generally get your energy flowing for the year. It will be on Thursday, January 29th, online and available via recording if you can't make it live. So sign up at pamgrossman.com/events or on my @phantasmaphile Instagram bio. But speaking for myself, I'm coming back to the podcast feeling a sense of being rested and renewed. Over the break, we celebrated Matt's milestone birthday. We went to Belize and London and took some time up at our little house in the hills where it was very, very, very snowy. And here and there, I gave myself some days off from my other work. And yeah, I didn't make any of these full-length Witch Wave episodes for several weeks too. This was a longer break than I usually take in the winter, but it's just what I felt I needed to do and wanted to do. Because, I don't make this podcast the right way. If you listen to other podcasts, a lot of them are weekly, if not daily. But I don't know, man. I make this show myself. I'm my own boss and producer and booker and I make it the way I want to make it. And that means I'm still on a bi-weekly schedule for these full-length episodes, though I do bonus episodes for Patreon backers on the alternating weeks, just saying. But yeah, I take summers off and a big ol' winter break, and I'm not sorry about it. Because it means I'm able to keep making this show 9 seasons in a way that's sustainable and which allows me to do other projects and to not burn out. And while I reserve the right to switch things up at any point in the future, for the time being, this is the pace that's worked for me. And I say all of this to remind you all that it's okay to go at your own pace, to follow your own rhythm, and to take breaks. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only way to be able to make lasting, long-term change of any kind. And I'm talking about creative productivity, yes, but I'm also talking about the pace of our activism, our other kinds of work, and our witchcraft. Taking breaks and taking time to rest and relax and replenish and just be present should not be a luxury. It's a necessity because it means that we can all stay in it, whatever the it is, for the long haul and not quit, not give up. And we all really need to stay in that long haul of creativity and activism and magic, especially now. Because my gods, 2026 is already off to such an intense start. The horrors of ice alone need our attention and our energy of resistance. To that end, I just want to highlight for folks that we currently have an opportunity to help try and defund ICE between now, when this episode airs, and January 31st, because Congress is about to vote on a bunch of budgetary bills, including those that fund ICE. So please call your congresspeople and tell them to oppose any bill that maintains any funding for ICE. I posted details about this on my Phantasmaphile Instagram page, so please, please, please call your senators and reps this month. Call them several times over because those calls really do make an impact. And from a witchcraft perspective, some people have asked me, what can we do to support the resistance against ICE and tyranny and fascism? A really simple spell is to do a freezer spell, appropriately enough for ice. So a lot of witches I know are, taking photographs or printouts or just the word ice and putting it in water and then freezing it literally in the freezer. This is like old magic. So that's something you can do. But again, the best thing you can do is to make those phone calls and to keep helping fight the good fight. But I also want you to take heart, because despite all of the horrors that are happening, and the violence and cruelty of ice is just one of those horrors, I know. But there is also a lot of good happening too. And I've been getting a lot of hope from doing and witnessing material actions and from following the lead of great activists. But I also have been getting so much hope from many of the magical folks I follow, including some astrologers. Because the astrologers I pay attention to are all saying that this will be a year of massive change and massive potential for positive evolution and revolution. And so I knew that I had to have one of these astrologers here on the show to talk with me all about it. And so I'm thrilled that Aliza Kelly answered my call and came by the studio to discuss what's in the stars for 2026. But before we get to that, first, let's check and see what's come through on the Witch Wire.
Who is it?
Witches!
Hi, Pam, and hi, witches. I'm calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as a volunteer with Books Through Bars, a program connecting books with people in prisons in 6 mid-Atlantic states for the past few decades. I've been devastated as a practicing witch and volunteer in the program to discover that we're permanently running low on books having to do with Wicca, witchcraft, spellwork, paganism, the occult, and New Age spirituality. We get so many requests for witch books, and there are never enough books in our community library to fulfill the requests of our readers. So I'm calling to direct our web of witches to booksthroughbars.org to find out more information on how you can donate witch books, occult books, spell books, etc. to our community library here in West Philadelphia. Thank you so much for all you do in activating our web of witches during these dark times. So mote it be.
Hello, my wonderful listener. I'm so happy to hear from you. And this is actually a lovely synchronicity and message from Spirit for me right now, because I actually already know all about Books Through Bars. There's a branch here in New York City and a bookstore not too far from me in Brooklyn that is one of the packing and shipping hubs for the program. And I've been on their mailing list for a while, and I've been meaning to drop off books and potentially volunteer with them. But your message is motivating me to finally take action. So I thank you so much for the reminder to me, and by extension to my listeners, about this super important program. And yes, witchcraft books and books on tarot and astrology and brujeria and so on are always a high request from those who are incarcerated. Now, for those listening, of course, you can go to booksthroughbars.org to learn more about how to donate books to this program. And in some cases, you can also drop off books at the collection points in person through different branches, though these different branches often have different rules around this, so do check the respective websites. I know for the New York City branch, they ask that you check their list of requested topics first and then email them to just double check before you go and drop the books off. So you need to kind of get approved first. So just be sure you follow the instructions on your local branch's website. These websites also usually have wish lists where you can order requested books directly for the program. And you can also volunteer your time to help pack and ship books. And you can certainly always donate money to these programs. So there are lots and lots of ways to get involved. That's Books Through Bars. Now, I do want to say that at least with the New York City branch, and I imagine this is true for the other branches too, but double check me on this. But the New York City branch requests that the books are soft cover and that they are in new or good condition. They don't want highlighting or underlining or notes or stains, and the books can't be spiral bound. And also, there are topics beyond witchcraft and magic that they're requesting too. So again, just be sure to check out the website and see what they need. You can find out more details by going, again, to booksthroughbars.org, and that's for the Philly branch. And then there's booksthroughbarsnyc.org for the New York City branch. And I know that there are other such programs throughout the country, so just do a quick Google and that should link you to one in your area. But of course, you can donate to any branch remotely. I love the idea of sending books of magic and empowerment to our incarcerated sisters and brothers and non-binary siblings. And the Witch Wave is certainly the right place to help amplify the work of this program. So again, to my lovely listener who sent in this message, thank you so much for your volunteer work and for reaching out to boost this signal. And thank you again for reminding me to get involved this year. Books Through Bars. Let's do it. Now, on to my guest. Aliza Kelly is an astrologer, author, and media personality known for bridging mysticism with the mainstream. She's worked with dozens of stars, pun intended, including Drew Barrymore, Bella Hadid, Keke Palmer, and Jonathan Van Ness. And she's been featured on The Today Show, in the New York Times, The New Yorker, Cosmopolitan, and on and on and on. She's also the author of 5 best-selling books, including This Is Your Destiny and It's All Magic. And I've known her for a long time and have really thrilled at witnessing her expansion because she's so smart and so thoughtful and concerned with individual well-being, yes, but also with the well-being of the global community. She's just an all-around stellar human being, pun intended again. Aliza joined me in the studio here in Brooklyn, and you can watch the video of our conversation over on my YouTube channel, which is at Phantasmaphile. Aliza Kelly, welcome to the Witch Wave.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you, my twin.
I know.
My literal 180 twin.
We are long lost twins. First of all, look at us. Hello. Double the gorge. Come on now, double the gorge.
People don't talk about this enough.
That we're gorgeous?
That we're gorgeous twins. That we're gorgeous twins separated at birth. I feel like this should be like conspiratorial.
I'm saying maybe we need to go on the road.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
Siamese twins or something, but we'll be like
Take
cosmic twins.
Road, yes.
I'm saying the people need this. Also, can we stand up for a second and I will tell the listeners what's happening. Look how we dressed without consulting each other.
Yeah, this is how you know.
Come on. I mean... Purple for days.
For the listeners, I think that the last time that we chatted, I pulled your chart then and saw this at that time.
Okay.
But it was like a big, important reminder that you are a 25-degree Aquarius sun. I am a 25-degree Leo sun.
Okay.
25-degree Aquarius sun, 25-degree Leo sun. We are 180 degrees away from each other. Not to mention that in my chart, my South and North node are in Leo and Aquarius. So my North node is 25-degree Aquarius. So like we really, truly, astrologically are also twins.
So tell me more what that means. If we're opposites, though, that means we're kind of like balancing each other?
The same.
Wait, what does that mean?
The trick in astrology, and I think you'll know this too, because I think that this applies to really all mystical traditions, is that opposites are the same.
Yes. The shadow and the light.
Yeah, it becomes one. So the Aquarius mission is really the Leo mission. And the Leo mission is really the Aquarius mission. Whenever you have a 180 opposite, it's always just two different paths to get to the same goal.
That's so fascinating. So do you think that means we're like potentially good vibers, collaborators?
Yeah.
And for people who might be dating someone, if they were opposite that person on a chart, does that mean they'd necessarily be like soulmates or something?
You know, you have to look at the whole chart, of course. Of course. You have a Gemini rising, which is the rising I envy the most.
Tell me more.
I mean, it's actually perhaps the placement I envy the most. Yeah, whenever I see someone with a Gemini rising, I'm like, damn, like you can talk. You know how to do it. You do the thing.
Thanks.
You can just speak. You can create with your words. I'm a Capricorn rising, so I'm very serious.
Organized as hell.
I'm media. I'm type B. I'm very sort of like big picture. What's the vision? What's the story? I want to take everything super seriously. So it's hard for me to have that like fun and flirty Gemini energy.
Yes.
It's like work for me to get that.
You seem so fun and flirty to me.
Thanks.
But
I'm a Leo. So like thankfully I make up for the Capricorn rising in some ways.
Yes.
But that Gemini rising, I'm like, podcast host. Yes, that's it.
But this actually affirms a theory of mine that's come up on the show before, which is I feel like a lot of astrologers have Capricorn prominently in their chart, at least the ones I've met.
We do.
Yes, and I've once called them the accountants of the cosmic world because there's so much math and science and details that, you know, you have to be interested in. Like when I look at a chart, I get overwhelmed. But your brain, when you look at a chart, presumably, like, you light up, right?
Yeah,
because of that Capricorn,
There's
do you think?
so many Capricorn rising astrologers. It's like the signature. It's me. It's the Astro Twins, Annabelle Gatt, Jessica Lanyadoo.
Gina Cadlick, I believe, is a Capricorn sun. I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, Capricorn Colin Bedell is Capricorn moon.
Right?
Like, it's very, very rising heavy.
I'm on a record. I'm on a record as saying this.
Yes.
And I don't know that much about astrology. Like, I dabble.
I can't believe that,
No,
though.
I dabble. You and folks like yourself talk about, like, nodes. I'm like, I don't know what a node is.
yeah.
You know?
La, 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 la.
And I want to know, but I feel like astrology is more complicated than I ever knew. Even when I first got into it, I always just paid attention to my Aquarius sun. And then I was like, oh, the rising is what we're supposed to pay attention to when it comes to like reading our horoscopes and so on. And that confused me because I'm such a proud Aquarius. But I've been paying more attention to my Gemini rising. And so it sounds like you think the rising sign is also very, very important when it comes to what people should be paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, the rising sign is your mission. Everything else is just sort of responding to what the rising sign goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you know, your friendly Capricorn rising astrologer here. Obviously, it's like I'm being bossed around by Saturn. So my interpretation for a rising sign, of course, is always going to be your chart ruler is your boss.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just like a sub in your chart. Your rising sign is calling the shots. I think it's really cool to think about the mission of your chart through the lens of your rising. Because especially if you have a rising sign and a sun sign or a rising sign and a moon sign that are expressing themselves very differently, we can understand how we need the nuance to exact a goal, right?
Yes.
We need all of the dimensions to actually make a lot of things happen. We're not one-dimensional. We need to have nuance. We need to have dynamism within us to arrive at ultimately the self-actualization journey that is our birth chart.
Yes. So let's talk about astrology as a tool for self-actualization. How did you, first of all, get into astrology, and when did you realize that people could use it to help live their life's purpose?
I feel like for so many years I was saying a decade ago, and now it's been much more than a decade because somehow I'm older.
I mean,
weird.
Rude.
Yeah, rude. How did that happen? It was in my early 20s, which is not a decade ago now. But it's not that long. It's like maybe a little more than a Jupiter return.
Okay,
it was
I don't know
actually
what
at
that
the
means,
last.
Jupiter
That's 12
return,
years.
you say. Okay.
It's like 13 years ago that I
Okay.
started to really seriously practice.
Okay.
And at that time, I always known that I was a Leo. I grew up in a very astrology-interested family and in a space, I have a Sagittarius mom, so there were no limits to what we could talk about and what I would explore. I was open and I was the weird kid. I was like coming in with the Ouija board all the time. For me, I'm like, who could have seen it coming? But I think anyone who knew me as a kid was like, we all did.
Where did you grow up?
In New York City.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
She's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Lots of places. I say that I was raised on the subway because my family moved to different parts of Manhattan and Brooklyn, like shout out to divorce and shout out to divorced parents. I went to school in Manhattan, but I lived in Brooklyn Heights. I lived in Gowanus. I lived on the Upper West Side. I lived on the Upper East Side. I lived in Yorkville. I lived all around town.
Yes, but very much New York City kid,
yes.
Which is such a distinct flavor of New York.
Public school New York City kid, too. So,
yes. Important distinction right there.
Yeah, and all through my subway journeys, I had my Ouija board. I had my giant CD case with like 90 CDs in it that weighed my bag down. So I was like, all around town with my backpack, spooky things, CD cases, maybe an occasional textbook. I mean, I was definitely like a weirdo. Hanging out on St. Mark's, on Astor Place, spinning the cube with my vampire goth friends.
Amazing. And I'm just kind of, twinkling over here because so many of the specifics you're talking about, of course, like I was a similar kind of kid and I loved Ouija and I loved my big CD case and all of it too. And I'm just like, Aliza,
right,
what is happening with us?
Right? This is like, these are all sort of like the signs.
Yes,
and
yes.
I would say the most challenging parts of my life were when I was denying that for myself.
Say more about that.
In college, I was trying to figure out who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I studied art history, which is very apropos for the work that I do now. And it's still like, I say that I use my degree all the time. I studied studio art and art history. So I was still like artsy, but I was also trying to figure out, how am I going to be responsible? How am I going to fit into the world? How am I going to make money? How am I going to be successful?
Be taken seriously.
Which was the biggest barrier to entry for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I started to work with astrology and I started to see how powerful it was as a tool for my own healing journey, that I started to notice that I was very good at being able to offer this to others and offer these interpretations and strengthen my skills, through being able to work with people directly as I was learning in tandem. Still, I was like keeping it at an arm's length. I started with my best friend from college, an astrology dating app in 2013.
Oh, right on.
Called Align. And we ran that for a few years. It was a horrible experience. We were obviously, it's easy to say ahead of our time. And that was true. But it was also true that tech, still male-dominated field.
Oof.
Men don't seem to like astrology broadly.
Or want to invest in things that are interesting to women and queer folks.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't get it. Can't figure out how to not bastardize it and make it evil.
Mm-hmm.
Broadly speaking. Sorry, Josh.
And generally speaking, yes.
And it was a really challenging and difficult time, but it was an interesting one looking back because even when we would be in conversations with, these tech bros, it was a lot of trying to have gotcha moments of oh, so you do believe in it, right? Oh, so you do think.
Yeah.
And my biggest, what I now recall and have so much compassion for looking back is that I'd be like, well, I don't know if I believe in it, but people believe in it.
Right.
And it was almost like to have something that didn't incriminate me, that didn't make me the weirdo, to be sort of removed from, I was adjacent to, but I, was a rational, logical, pragmatic person. I could be a co-founder. I could run a business.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had to walk away from that, and then I lost all my money that I had already none of. I was working as a waitress through that time. And then I got fired, and then I went on unemployment, and then my unemployment ran out. And then I was like, I either am going to continue to live in LA, where I was at the time, or move back to New York and be with my mom and grandma. I sold all my furniture, came back to New York, had to start all over in my life again, took a horrible administrative assistant job. Basically was like, okay, so all of that was for nothing.
Yeah.
All of that, none of it mattered. And at that moment, I was at this important crossroads, and that was 2016, which is interesting because there's this sort of like what was going on in your life in 2016 moment that's happening right now.
I know. It's everywhere. And I don't remember this happening in prior years that we were supposed to do a 10-year look back. And I'm like, why is everyone doing this on Instagram?
Astrologically, there's something very interesting that we definitely should mention.
Okay.
But just to sort of wrap this up,
yes.
At that crossroads, Annabelle Gatt, who I was working with throughout this time, who was already a mentor of mine, but I was in LA and she was in New York, was like, don't give up on astrology. There's more for you down this road. Like, let me help you. Let me work with you.
Did she see that in your chart?
Yeah, and I think that she saw that in my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, she's just an amazing Aries who really believed in me.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't let me stop.
Mm-hmm.
And through that time, that was now starting to approach my Saturn return. And at that point of the Saturn return, I started to get much stronger and braver and feel much more comfortable being like, you know what? I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to prove that I'm smart. I don't need to prove that I'm capable of nuance, that I can hold multiple truths at the same time. Like
that you're rational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I am all of these things, and I love astrology, and I'm studying to become an astrologer, and now watch me go. I am an astrologer.
Exactly.
And that was such a massive unlock. So like, I'm sure that with your listeners, so many are like still in the broom closet, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say from my personal experience, like when you step out and you actually just allow the world to see you for who you are as this witchy, magical, divine, mystical being, things open up.
It's so true. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like say it to the people in the back. It is so true.
Yeah, it changed my life. And from that point on, it's been an amazing journey of being a full-time astrologer now for 10 years.
That's so incredible. And so how has astrology supported you in your own life, and how can it help other people support themselves so that they can live to their fullest potential?
So, I think that in a way, this story is sort of the self-actualization. It's a microcosm of that journey because my chart told that story. When you have your chart read, when you work with an astrologer, or if you endeavor to learn this yourself, and I advise that is not you and ChatGPT as much as possible, please, listeners.
Yes.
But when you have that sort of calling to go deeper, you're going to discover things about yourself. You're going to unlock things. You're going to connect the dots. You're going to see the totality of self. And I think that that's what makes astrology amazing, is it is a totality of self. And there's timing, and there's contradictions, and there's pain, and there's purpose. And all of those things work in tandem. So astrology, it's a wheel. I think about Joseph Campbell a lot. I think about the hero's journey a lot. I think about how all circles are cycles. And we go through the cycle of our birth chart, 28 days with the moon, 365 days with the sun, 12 years with Jupiter, 30-ish years with Saturn. We have these different cycles. We study time through a clock, right, with an hour and a minute and a second hand. This is just adding years and decades and, in some cases, centuries to that clock.
It's like a soul clock.
Yes.
Yes. Love it so much.
And I believe that your chart is your soul, and I believe that your soul wanted you to have the very specific chart that you have in order for you to understand yourself, and in order for you to put all of these pieces together so that you could have the full experience that is your life.
Yes. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Mithras Candle, my favorite. As we move through the quiet heart of winter toward the first whispers of Imbolc, our rituals require a steady, gentle radiance. For 10 years, my mythic and scientific friends in Philadelphia have been handcrafting that exact kind of radiant light at Mithras Candle. Our ancestors held beeswax as sacred. They used the finest beeswax, creating hand-dipped Byzantine pillars that carry a natural honey floral aroma, a heavenly scent like a bridge between the physical and the ethereal. These are gorgeous tools made with soul, designed to carry your intentions exactly where they are needed. 2026 is a milestone year for Mithras, and they're celebrating with some truly transcendent offerings and collaborations, including the return of the White and Luxe Aureole line of 24-karat gold and platinum leaf angel magic candles. And I was sent some of these, and they are so beautiful. And for those looking toward the turning of the wheel, keep your eyes peeled for a special new candle release specifically for spring, a fresh glow for a new season. Ready to illuminate your space with arcane luxury? Visit mithrascandle.com and use offer code WitchWave for 26% off your first order. That's M as in magic, ITHRAS candle.com. Light the flame and enlighten your world. The Witch Wave is brought to you by BetterHelp. The new year doesn't require a new you, maybe just a less burdened you. I've been working on lightening up on myself and letting go of things that weigh me down. Things like second-guessing my intuition, pressure from society to look or behave in ways that go against my actual values, and I'm definitely trying to let go of my perfectionism. I've come to realize that a lot of my anxiety comes from trying to control things and do them the right way, and in fact, there's so much that's out of our control. And therapy helped me realize that it's liberating to not grip onto my life so tightly and to not always try to make the perfect choice because there's no such thing. And it's been so freeing to shed some of those misconceptions. Therapy can help you more easily identify what weighs you down and holds you back by offering an unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, motivations, and emotions. Therapy has helped me trust spirit more, and it's helped me trust myself more. And that has been so enlightening. BetterHelp is a great way to connect to a therapist who can help you let go of what's weighing you down. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their over 12 years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. But if you aren't happy with your match, you can switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. They have over 30,000 therapists, making BetterHelp one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, and they've served over 5 million people globally with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5. So, maybe it's time for you to let go of what's weighing you down. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/witchwave. That's betterhelp.com/witchwave. Welcome back to the Witch Wave. So, I don't know if you saw that article that went around recently where the writer was saying that she stopped going to therapy and now she only gets her tarot cards read. And then a lot of folks like myself kind of chimed in and were like, whoa, there doesn't have to be either or. Like, I'm a very loud and proud advocate for therapy. I've been in therapy for most of my adult life. It has saved me. And I'm a witch. Like, I think these things, they can really work in tandem with each other. What can astrology do and what can't it do? Like, are you a fan of therapy as well and other modalities?
Am I?
Let's talk about it.
Am I a fan?
Yeah.
Yes. But I also love to point out the fact that therapy was considered a pseudoscience like not even a century ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that our public perception of it has changed in our lifetime is also incredible. I remember in the 90s, it was like they were called like shrinks. And like it was very much still stigmatized.
Yep.
And it was very coastal, right? Like everyone in New York or LA or California had a therapist, but it wasn't something that was seen as this like very pervasive mental health necessity that it really is.
Right.
You know, everybody needs an advocate and someone to talk to. And astrology is amazing for interpretation and for mysticism and for timing and for building a practice. I mean, astrology does incredible things and it's very therapeutic. So it does a lot of the things that we can do in therapy. But there's not a board to regulate who astrologers are and what their training is. There's not qualifications and school in the same very regimented way that we have mental health counselors and therapists working. And I think that that should be noted because when people are struggling with their mental health and then they come exclusively to astrologers or tarot readers, like that's a wonderful thing to do, but it shouldn't be where your journey begins and ends.
Yeah.
Because astrologers, by and large, unless they have sort of a dual path, aren't trained in being able to really support people during difficult times.
Right. And especially like if they're emotionally dysregulated or yeah, exactly.
And, you know, as someone who also has OCD, astrology and tarot can be the worst for navigating OCD and anxiety because you start checking everything, right? And you start impulsively looking at your chart, the tarot every day. And instead of that becoming this peaceful and meditative practice, it becomes this sort of like anxiety-ridden obsession, right?
It's so interesting you bring that up because I am someone who does struggle with anxiety. And I sometimes find predictive arts, and I know astrology is not only predictive, but I sometimes find things like tarot and astrology to make me a little anxious because I'm nervous about what people are going to say or what the cards are going to tell me. And it can really like spin me out. Alternatively, it also helps me in moments of anxiety when I'm feeling like I'm having trouble making a decision, for example. Pulling a card or asking astrologer friends and colleagues if they have any insight into this moment in my life is really helpful because it feels like it's like out of my hands and I'm not ruminating. So it really depends, you know, and obviously like your mileage may vary, as they say.
Yes. I mean, I think it's so important to be tuned in with yourself around what's coming up for you and how you're actually feeling. Early on, when I started working with clients, I created a rule for myself that I would not see a client with less than a week between when they're booking the session and when we're having it. And as time progressed, that actually stretched further and further. I'm not working with clients currently, but the way that I had it set up the last time I had my schedule open was it was at least 3 months between when they were booking the session and then we were actually talking. And a big reason for that is because if you have your books open and you can book in 24 hours, you're going to get a lot of people impulsively, manically, sort of like in a state of really heightened emotions, wanting to look at something right now.
Yes.
And that is not how I want to work. That's not the energy I want to work with. And I'm not equipped for it. That's not how I want to be able to counsel and guide and advise.
Yes, you're not like a crisis management astrologer.
I'm not. I have a chart for it, but I'm not trained in it.
And it sounds like you don't want that.
I don't want it. Yeah, that's not good for my nervous system.
Exactly. So I want to talk about the explosion of astrology. I know you get asked this all the time, but I am curious. Even in the last, 10, 12, 15 years you've been doing this yourself, it seems like the hunger for astrology has grown. I saw you recently on a segment, I think it was the Today Show with Jenna and friends.
I know.
The Scope.
A
Google
full circle moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, whoa, how could...
Yeah, you're talking Jenna Bush and Brooke Shields
about astrology.
I know. It was so incredible. I know you've interviewed Jonathan Van Ness, who I adore. You've worked with Drew Barrymore. Like, it's really hit the mainstream in a very major way. And I would just love you to generally comment on what you make of that. What's the light side of that and what's the shadow side of astrology being so popular right now?
That's a good question. The light side of it is that astrology is so popular right now. And, you know, I hope that we can really integrate the magic and the depth and the spirituality and the complexity and nuance of it broadly, right? I hope as a society, we can start opening ourselves to this realm a little bit more and take it seriously and recognize it as a part of our human experience and a necessary one, right? Because it also comes along with just listening to other people and hearing different people's stories and embracing and accepting interests, right? And curiosities. I mean, there's so many shadow sides of it, right? In our last conversation, it was right before COVID and right before the pandemic. And something that really revealed itself and that I think about often is how the spirituality community just split.
Yes. And I should say, this is when I was on your podcast.
Yes.
That we were first in touch with each other.
Yes.
So yeah, since then,
even though I've been following you for so long, it's
likewise, I'm sure. But there is this real split, and I'd love for you to talk more about that. What are you perceiving?
The MAGA conspiratorial fracture of spirituality.
Reality.
Yeah, reality, yeah. Right. The light and dark, the lizard people, the QAnon. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, and that was
anti-science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, when we say astrology in the mainstream and those are the shadow sides of it, like, how does that all fit together? I would say it fits together in that when you're platforming something, there's always a path that it could go down that goes south.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I trust myself and with the astrologers that I know and I love and I admire and respect and have for so many decades. Like, I want all of them to be able to share their work and their teachings. But then there's also the opportunity for someone who uses this and weaponizes it and creates fear and distortions around it to
paranoia.
Also be on, suddenly it's like I'm watching whatever it is, some talk show, and I'm like, oh no, this person is telling people not to get vaccinated.
Right. Right.
This person is talking about the jab.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't know that because the producers are hiring someone who, you know what I mean? Like, they don't know the whole body of their work.
Yes, yes. So there's this ethical component. And I imagine that's true in most vocations, especially ones that maybe were a little more fringe and then they get more popular. And there's also, we should add, some folks who are just trying to be out there exploiting you and trying to get your money. And it doesn't mean they're a great witch or a great healer or a great astrologer. But anyhow, so I guess the next question would be, how can someone figure out if an astrologer is ethical and is worth trusting?
I guess you have to listen. You have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends, I guess, on what your goals are for listening to or working with an astrologer.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who are going to always use astrology as more of a party trick and as more of, something that like, oh, we're having a bachelorette. Is there an astrologer here who wants to do charts? Do we care about the ethics of that astrologer in that space? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends. But for someone who is amassing a large following, I think we should be paying attention to how they're using it and how they're looking at it. Because in case our listeners don't know out here, astrology is all interpretation. There's these sort of like general agreed upon concepts of Saturn represents this, Pisces represents that. But how we put that together and tell stories is a translation.
Yes.
And that's the interpretation of somebody. So somebody's biases, somebody's objectives, somebody's goals and intentions are also going to be interpreted within that interpretation. They're going to come out and come through in the interpretations of it.
Yes.
So it's not just this neutral, as much as it's not a science,
Yeah.
And it's not something that is just neutral and you could drop in and get the same reading from anyone,
Right. Right. There's a subjectivity to it.
Yes.
Yeah. But that also makes it, I think, a poetic art or an art that's in the space of mythopoesis.
Yes.
And my favorite astrologers like yourself or tarot readers are also people who have very, there's like a sensitivity. And there is, again, that word poetry, there's like a sense of artfulness that comes through in their readings. And there's a high emotional intelligence quotient, I find, with the people that I resonate with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that where we can get into some trouble is when we think that astrology is fact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's complicated to be like, well, then do you not think astrology is real? Of course I think astrology is real. I'm an astrologer, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is not fact. And the way that we can interpret and incorporate and integrate the lessons of astrology is not the same as a quantitative analytical collection of something. And even then, you could argue that there's always a qualitative bias, right? But astrology is certainly qualitative and not quantitative.
On that note, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Sister Temperance Tarot. Angeliska of Sister Temperance Tarot offers readings that are compassionate, trauma-informed, and powerfully intuitive. These sessions are designed to help people navigate life's biggest questions, transitions, losses, and awakenings with clarity, grace, and care. That's no doubt why Sister Temperance Tarot has been voted best psychic/tarot reader in Austin for 10 years running. They've been reading professionally since 1999, and they specialize in readings for artists, fellow mystics, creative spirits, seekers of magic, and lovers of mystery. Come with your questions and leave with insight, strength, and a spell of support. Readings are available by phone or Zoom, so book a session now or learn more over at sistertemperancetarot.com. Hey there. So people are always asking me how they can get more Witch Wave, how they can work with me, how they can find magical community. And my answer is join the Witch Wave Patreon. There is where you'll get bi-weekly bonus Witch Wave Plus episodes, as well as ad-free Witch Wave episodes and detailed show notes for all. The Witch Wave Patreon is also where I lead a monthly online magical ritual, which you can attend live or watch the recording of at your convenience. And that's available for members at all tiers. And then rewards for some other tiers also include magical merch and contests where you can win Witchly prizes, as well as getting early heads up about my workshops before they sell out, and opportunities to get magical one-on-one guidance from me. And all backers get access to our exclusive digital coven, where you can connect to a community of other wonderful Witch Wave witches around the world. So head on over to patreon.com/witchwave and sign up. It's a marvelous way to get more magic in your life and to support the show. Thank you so much. Hi, Witch Wavers. I know, and you know, you want some Witch Wave merch. And our print-on-demand merch site is now available through Dashery. So if you want to get different variations of our gorgeous Witch Wave logo designed by Thunderwing, or our Witches Are the Future catchphrase designed by Lara Antal, printed on everything from t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, magnets, notebooks, you name it, you can. Shirts come in different styles and fabrics and are available in sizes small through 5XL, so you can order whatever you'll feel you're most comfortable and most magical in. So head on over to witchwave.dashery.com. That's witchwave.dashery.com, or you can click the Dashery link in the Witch Wave shop over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop. Welcome back to the Witch Wave. Okay, so let's get into your interpretations.
And my biases.
And your biases. But I only invite astrologers on the show who I adore and whose work really resonates with me. So I'm inviting you, Aliza, to share your reflections on the year that we just ended, 2025, from an astrological perspective. But then I imagine most listeners are going to be most excited to hear your predictions or interpretations for 2026. You're my first guest of 2026.
What an honor.
So
oh my, this is going to be my year. This is.
So I took a bit of a winter break for myself. We're back now. And I just would love to hear what you think we should be prepared for in the year ahead. So first of all, 2025, if we could just talk about the end of it. Here in New York City, we had a huge election. And the one ray of hope for me politically is the fact that Zohran Mamdani was elected.
Incredible.
Incredible. Did you see that happening? Not specifically, but something like that potentially happening at the end of 2025?
How do I put you know how opposites are the same, right?
Yes.
We talked about.
Yes.
2025 and 2026 are really, really watershed years for the future of this country, here old United States of America.
Heard of her.
You know her. She's really going through something right now.
Mm-hmm. She certainly is.
It's a really intense time. It's a really scary time. And the astrology of 2025 and 2026, 2025 being sort of a precursor to 2026, things really ramp up in 2026, this year, year of our Lord.
Ugh.
And I, with my biases, see a lot of exciting potential. And it's not going to be an easy time. It's going to be very, very hard. But I see a light at the end of the tunnel. But when elections...
Wait, let's pause
period.
there. Period. I'm taking a deep breath because I'm so starved for good news. And I know my listeners and viewers are too. And just to say what needs to be said, at the time we're recording this, just recently, Renee Good was shot by ICE. And she's just one of several people whose lives were taken by ICE this year alone. We have what's going on with Venezuela. What the fuck? Of course, the situation in Gaza. And that's just like the tip of the ice. Yep, which is exploding right now.
And the stakes, I think, people don't even realize, when we talk about like the world power, right? We're talking about like power countries.
Yes.
And what happens in Iran has like massive ripple effects on the world axis.
You said it. You said it. So we have all of that happening, and that's literally just been in the beginning of this year. Obviously, many of those things were happening in 2025 too, but we got off to an explosive, tragic start in many ways. So at the same time, I am starved for hope and good news. So I'm thrilled you see some of that too.
Yes.
But let's keep talking. 2026.
So with this election, just to sort of close that loop,
the Mamdani election,
to see the astrology play out in that way, to me is like another, we're going to be okay. Because the changes that are happening can move in a different direction. They can move in a progressive direction that is really for the people, right? Also, and we'll go through, line by line of what to expect, because I do think that people really should know and should be braced for this moment. I say that we're all here for a reason, right? Like our souls chose to be in this timeline. We can handle it. We're ready. We can do this. But it's not going to be easy. And what we're going to have to recognize is that the people, the billionaires approaching trillionaires, are oppressing all of us.
That's right.
And it really, at a certain point, doesn't matter if you identify as a Republican or a Democrat. What is actually happening is that all of the people are being pushed down. And when we can start to find a new story,
a new
paradigm that isn't being controlled by the people in power who are trying to stratify the working class and are trying to stratify everyone by making it so hyper politicized for us. And we start to look at each other and realize we actually have a lot more in common than we have disagreements on. Like we all want to live equal, fair, just lives, right? Then we can actually start to organize and we can start to push back against the oppression. And we can start to really create a new reality for ourselves. And Mamdani, no one is perfect, right? No one is perfect, but I think he is such a beautiful pillar of that conversation. And I think that even him going to Trump, which people were so rattled by, I was like, this is it. This is what we're talking about. Because this is somebody who's just like, we have to get things done.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I don't care who I'm talking to, as long as I'm getting things done for my city and for my people. And to me, that's the new future. Is becoming so fragmented that you kind of lose the plot of what it all is about.
And that you stop even working with people who are different than you.
Yes. Because that's a tactic, right? That has been a divisive way for us to not be in conversation together. And this is not like, I'm not having conversations with like MAGA people right now. we have to agree on some core things first, people's right to live safely, number one, right? But I think that in the months that follow, in 2026, I think we're going to find that common ground somehow. And I wonder if it is something like the extreme violence and the atrocities that are happening with ICE. Like, I'm watching this escalate and I'm listening and paying attention to be like, could something like this, could we find some sort of an agreement that this is wrong? All of us, right? Can we agree that this is wrong? Maybe. And then could that be a conversation that kicks off more conversations that allow us to get back on track and unify again? But to play devil's advocate with myself, another big thing that we're going to see this year in astrology are planets returning to the same placements that they were during the Civil War, during World War II.
Aliza!
Yes. The United States is going to be going through its Uranus return. That's an 84-year cycle. Uranus, the planet of disruption, is moving into Gemini. The United States of America has Uranus and Gemini in its chart. This could also signal a total and complete stratification before we come back together, as was the Civil War. And when people are like, not the Civil War, it's like, the Civil War was actually a fight against slavery, right?
Sure.
Sometimes we need to fight. Sometimes we need to say, like, this can't last.
This is unacceptable.
This is unacceptable. And that was ultimately, of course, a conversation about capitalism, right?
Yes.
That was a conversation about, what is the United States economy if we don't have this? Are you kidding?
Exactly. And valuing humanization over capital and labor.
Yes.
Which I think is a conversation more and more people hopefully are starting to wake up to. Like, look, everyone likes to have money. Everyone wants to live comfortably. Everyone wants to have enough. But there is a such thing as having more than you need and gaining that on the backs of other people. And that is unacceptable as far as I am concerned. And I think a lot of other people are starting to realize that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also want to add that there is, we have Pluto in Aquarius as the sort of like precursor to all of this. Pluto went into Aquarius first as sort of like the big shift. But this year, all of the outer planets are moving into new signs. Neptune moves into Aries. The last time was literally the day that the Civil War started, to the day.
When is that happening?
I have the dates. But this one is really, when did you say this podcast is coming out?
The 21st of January.
So in a few days, on Monday, January 26th, Neptune moves into Aries.
So things might pop off.
Yes. Then on February 13th, the day before your birthday, Saturn moves into Aries. And then on...
What does that mean for my birthday? No, and the world.
Well, it is going to be in your birthday chart. It's going to be in your solar return chart to have Saturn at 0 degrees of Aries. Let me share this last one that's happening because we'll talk about all of them together.
Please.
On February 20th, Saturn and Neptune come together for the first time since 1989. That was the year the Berlin Wall fell. I do think that what we are seeing across the world, throughout the world, of big revolutions happening, one of these is going to line up with Saturn conjunct Neptune, right? The last time it happened was the Berlin Wall falling.
Yes.
We're going to see some sort of a huge power collapse. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the United States. It could be something else. But, we live in a global economy, right?
We're
Everything
so
is connected.
Interconnected, of course.
Globalism. We're here.
And do you have a sense, here I am just like trying to lead the witness, but do you have a sense if this thing that's going to collapse will be for the greater good, or is it just neutral and we don't know?
Well, that's where my bias comes in.
Yeah.
I do.
I do too. I'm really hopeful.
I believe in people.
Yes, I do
I
too.
love people. I trust people. Fatal last words? I don't know. I do. I love people. I love humans. I think we can figure out how to do this.
Yes. We only have a couple minutes left.
Oh my God.
I know.
There's so much more.
There's so much more. In our final few minutes together, is there anything else you want our listeners, our viewers to know astrologically? What can we equip them with today so they can go forth into 2026 feeling enlivened, fortified, hopeful, supported?
I think that 2026 is going to be a year that we see so much massive change externally, and I want people to feel excited and tune in and really think about a better tomorrow, what that would look like. And I think that we are getting really close to being able to imagine a world that is more ethical, that is kinder, that is more beautiful, where we are listening to nature. And I think recognizing the fact that like we've come so far away from it and have found ourselves in such a predicament. We didn't even talk about AI, right? But like AI and the role that that's going to play in information, in social media, in the way that we receive news. We've never seen anything like it. You know, it's misinformation to the maximum.
Yep.
And what does it mean when you no longer really can trust anything that you're receiving on your phone, on your computer, through a news source? You have to trust your intuition. And you have to trust what you're seeing in front of you. You have to trust your experience. So that is an invitation to get back to your own experience too. And I feel really hopeful and excited. And as I said, it's not necessarily going to be an easy road to get there, but I think that we all want to. We're all very desperate for something else. And then really the last thing I want to say is that, and we started talking about the 2016 to 2026 conversation, Trump was elected in 2016. At that time, we had just had our first eclipse on the Leo and Aquarius axis with the North Node of Destiny in the sign of Leo. 2026, we shift back to that same axis, except at 180 flips.
Whoa.
And the North Node is in Aquarius, which is the sign of the people, not the king. And I feel like this is going to be the kingdom falling.
This is the dawning of... Okay.
There it is. Yes. We're finally back.
All right. Well, there is so much else I would love to talk to you about. I hope you will come back soon.
I'd love
just
to.
Adore you. I love your perspective on astrology, and you just have like the most beautiful energy to be around.
You
so
like being twins too.
I know. I'm just like, I just love
Do you like looking at yourself?
But I'm so grateful to you for making the time. Before you go, people are going to want to know how they can learn more from you. What are the best ways for people to connect with you?
Well, as of right now, still chronically online. So you can find me for better or for worse at Aliza Kelly everywhere. I have a podcast too. It's called Horoscope Weekly, and episodes come out every Monday and every Wednesday.
Fabulous. Aliza Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
That's it for the show. Thank you again to Aliza Kelly for sharing her starry speculations with me. Do you have questions, feedback, need some witchly advice, or just want to share something magical that happened to you recently? Drop us an email or a voice memo over at witchwavepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and you just might make it on the Witch Wire. Please check out the video of my conversation with today's guest and prior guests over at my YouTube channel at Phantasmophile, and please like and subscribe. The Witch Wave is a Phantasmophile production, written and produced by me, Pam Grossman. We are 100% independently run and proud of it. This episode was recorded and edited by Josh Wilcox and or Walter Nordquist and myself. Our theme music is the song Hand and I by Lycanthia. Our new Witch Wave logo was designed by Thunderwing. Special thanks go to Matt Freeman, Laura Antal, and Cece Pascal. Please pick up my books Magic Maker and Waking the Witch, or the Witchcraft volume I co-edited for Tashin's Library of Esoterica series. And if you want more Witch Wave, or you would just like to support the show, please join us over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/witchwave. Thank you so much for listening. Witches are the future. I'll catch you next time on The Witch Wave.